Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've got 10 o'clock, so I call this meeting to order. We will begin with an invocation followed by the pledges. Dear Lord, I come to you this morning and thank you for the start of another week, another day after the holiday yesterday. Thank you, Lord, for the chance to be here and address the business before us. Pray, as always, for your wisdom in all the decisions we make as we lead in this community. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. To start off citizens' communication this morning, I think it's appropriate for us to take a minute and pause. I'm sure that everybody had seen the news from last week, middle of the week, where Judge Posey passed away. I know everybody here knew Judge Posey. I've said before, it's noble to serve, and Judge Posey served in many different ways in the military, in Vietnam as a local attorney, local leader, and then, of course, 12 years as Victoria County Judge. So we certainly honor and remember his service and his family's in our thoughts, in our prayers. I think it's fitting that we take a stand and take a moment of silence as we remember Judge Don Posey. Thank you all. You may be seated. And the funeral services, I understand, are tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Holy Family. All right, continuing on in citizens' communication. Rick?
I'll let Mark go first.
Okay, well, go ahead, Mark.
We arm wrestled for it earlier, and then
Okay.
he felt bad for hurting my arm. So.
Yeah.
No, I'll be really quick. I just wanted to give a shout out to my staff. We hit again a live outcome above 90% for the second time this year, which, you know, considering all the things we're doing, it's more than just a number. But we did hit 95% total and 98% for dogs, which that's only done because we're running a lot of dogs home and we're keeping a lot of dogs home. We're not just going and knocking on doors. We're actually solving problems in the field, and our return to owner rate's high, and our actual calls for loose dogs is down 30% since I first came here. So
Awesome.
we are making a difference. Some areas are a little tougher than others.
Yeah.
We still have some hot spots that we seem to have some slow learners on, but we are making a difference, and couldn't do it without the staff that I have. They're really, you know, pushing the envelope on trying to help people be better pet owners. So
Well done, Mark. Good job.
appreciate
Thank
the
you.
support of the court too, as usual. We couldn't do it without you guys either. So thank
You've
you.
always got it. Thank you, Mark.
Congratulations, you and your staff.
Just to set the record straight, I have the best staff in the first meeting, so. You got it up there? Okay, thank you, appreciate it. So, good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Very quickly, we had a very complex fire last week on Thursday, October the 9th. Commissioner Ord asked us to put together a quick presentation just to kind of highlight the response to that and the complexity to it. So, obviously, you can see the fire right there. It's on Parsons Road. I guess it would be just west of Levi Sloan in the intersection. And so, if you can go to the next one, please. Total fire, after they did the actual investigation of the fire with the drones and things like that, it came out to be about 66 acres, 100% contained that afternoon. We did not have it contained. It started around 3 o'clock. They did mop-up operations late into the evening, I think until about 1 o'clock in the morning or so, with different services that were out here. So it did take quite some time to get that under control, and actually the complex fire, as it grew and the complexities of where it was at, became really dangerous for us. There's a lot of structures that were threatened. So if you want to go to the next one real quick. Obviously, we cannot do anything we do on our own. The collaborative efforts that we have amongst people during the Blue Sky days, the training days and things like that, really pay out in dividends when we actually have an event. So there's a listing of all of the folks that were out there. The Victoria Fire Department obviously was the key person for the contractual services we have with them. Chief Ferguson was there and took to become incident commander. but then developed a unified command. Our public information officers that were out there, Lauren Moe and Gabe with the city of Victoria, were there also and very instrumental in the fact of getting information out to the public. As Commissioner Wirt showed up on scene that day, it became very evident to us that we were going to have to move pretty quick on solving this problem because we had a lot of homes that were and structures that were threatened. I'm not going to sit there and read off all of them. I cannot even tell you the volunteer fire agencies, all the ones that were out there. I think pretty much I think it was an all call, correct, Jim? I think it was an all call. And so many agencies actually showed up out there, and we were in some very thick brush. We don't have the picture of it, but with Texas Forest Service called in the U.S. Forest Service single engine air tankers. If you recall, last October, we had those single engine air tankers here staged at the Victoria Regional Airport. And the question was arisen to us is why are they not here again? And so what they do is they look at the KBDI index and they look at the Texas Fire Coordinator looks at where the hot spots are going to be throughout the state and they start allocating resources. We do have some of the apparatuses and mixing, we don't have the mixing station here, but we have the tanks here at the regional airport. And so we're going to be looking at that as the month progresses on whether they're going to bring Texas Forest Service back here to position those. So single engine air tankers came out with drops out of Alice, and so they were doing a turnaround and about a 30-minute turnaround for them to come back here, which is pretty amazing when you think they were flying back to Alice, refueling, reloading up with the retardant and coming back over here. So they did several drops. But those are all the different agencies that were out there. Once again, I cannot say enough about the staff that works in emergency management. Lauren, Jenna, Alex, those folks did an outstanding job that day. We were getting ready to support the TIFMAS teams that were coming inbound. They were going to stay here all night long, and those folks did work out there until about 1 o'clock in the morning. So we were helping coordinate all of those pieces. Can you go to the next one over? Fire Marshal's office asked for me to kind of depict this. I think they did have Fire Marshal's office reached out to Judge Zeller the next morning in coordination with Commissioner Ort to go ahead and do an issuance of a burn ban. Right now, I think our index is sitting at a little over 601. Since Friday, they wanted me to highlight that we had 6 grass fires, 2 structure fires, and then the 2 illegal burning calls. And so you can see the numbers are growing very quickly, and that was just since Friday. And so we had the big fire on Thursday night. Wow. And so thank you, Judge, for signing off on the disaster declaration and correction on the burn ban. I think many of the counties around us are under a similar effect right now. I know the Fire Marshal's office will be doing a good job trying to get information out related to burning and illegal burning, because that's usually what caused most of it. So
Yeah.
But-
What did you say was the cause of that Parsons Road fire? We don't
I don't know
know
if they
yet.
ever made the determination. It was a control burn that did get out of control.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so we had quite a few homes that were threatened and the structures that were there. Public came out. Obviously, I didn't list them up there, but the public that did arrive on scene, they had apparatuses. They had some skid steers, and some of the landowners actually had some plows that were able to come out there and really help combat it until the dozer teams got there. And the
Yeah.
dozer teams are pretty neat to watch because
They're rough.
those folks do it. And they do their job well. So
They do.
But-
Now, my hat's off to you guys. Just being out there and seeing how everybody was coordinated. I mean, it was really neat. The volunteer fire departments were all together. They knew what to do. And then TIFMAS shows up and Texas Forest Service. Those guys, they live for that.
Yeah.
You can see it. So thank you for you and your team. You did a great job.
Chief Ferguson did an excellent job on calling us early. He had made the mention that as he was heading out there, his crews had already looked at the fuel load, and they said, hey, we need to get a hold of these folks quickly. And so they did actually call it TIFMAS. The TIFMA teams came out of Seguin, Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid Assistance. So they came out of Seguin, and what they did is they were inbound already. Once again, if we have to turn them around, we turn them around, but at least they're inbound. And I think they showed up about an hour and a half to 2 hours later. And when you say these guys rolled in, they rolled in with all kinds of stuff.
I mean-
And so one truck after another, there's probably about a dozen of them showed up. And so they were there to bear the resources, and they did work through in the night to make sure that they had all the hot spots taken care of. And so
How many acres?
a total of 66 is what it was. 66 very dense,
Yes.
very complex terrain that they were dealing with, a lot of rose hedge, a lot of yopon and weesach. So, yeah.
Well, it could get some relief this weekend possibly. It looks like we got a pretty good front coming
Got a
down.
front of boundary coming in, yep.
Yeah.
So fire danger is going to be throughout the week, so just ask people to be in accordance to the burn ban that's been in effect by the judge and his signature, so.
Very good. Well,
Appreciate it.
thank you for the report on that,
Yes, sir.
Rick.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you. Other comments or anything in citizens' communication this morning? Seeing nothing, we will move right along to item number 4, which is to consider approval of minutes and take appropriate action. Each of you have a copy of those minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 5, consider approval of accounts payable and take appropriate action.
Accounts payable for October 14th, 2025 are $359,316.78. Supplemental payments are $861,259.95.
Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you for that, Michelle. Item 6 is to receive monthly and quarterly reports from various county officials and departments and take appropriate action.
We have report from the district clerk, county clerk, criminal district attorney, county tax assessor collector, justice of the peace precinct number 4, constables precincts numbers 1 and 2, and pretrial services.
Move to receive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 7, consider approval of bond forfeiture releases and take appropriate action.
None at this time.
Easy enough. Thank you, Belinda. We'll then move to item 8. Consider approval of Citizens Medical Center interim vendor payments and take appropriate action. We have the October 9th memo from the hospital showing those interim vendor payments in the amount of $203,800.94. The ACH report on that same date of October 9th was $2,653,751.55.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item number 9, hear a proclamation designating October 14th, 2025 as Constitutional Free Speech Day in Victoria County and take appropriate action. In light of a lot of recent events and on the heels of Constitution Week, I felt it was appropriate here in Victoria to issue this proclamation, and it reads as follows. Whereas the founding fathers of our nation were clearly deeply concerned with ensuring and guarding the rights of citizens to speak and write and think freely as they crafted world-changing documents such as the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. And whereas freedom of speech is among the rights enshrined by those founding fathers over 200 years ago in the Bill of Rights and of the Constitution, along with other closely associated constitutional rights such as freedom of assembly, freedom of association, and freedom of press. And whereas Constitution Week was celebrated in Victoria County and across the nation a few weeks ago with events including readings of the Constitution in public and private places, and whereas in light of recent events such as the brutal public murder of Charlie Kirk while he was lawfully exercising his free speech rights on an American college campus, and attacks and threats against other speakers across the political and ideological landscape, it is especially vital now for all residents of Victoria County and the United States to recognize the real importance of constitutional free speech and to preserve and protect this fundamental right. And whereas a free people in a constitutional republic such as ours can only remain free so long as we respect the rights granted to our fellow citizens and regard their rights as we do our own. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Ben Zeller, Victoria County Judge, do hereby proclaim October 14th, 2025 as Constitutional Free Speech Day in Victoria County, Texas, and encourage all residents to practice such constitutional rights we hold dear as Americans in ways that are respectful and strengthen our nation, and indeed reflect well upon us and honor our forebears who sacrificed so much to ensure that a government of the people, by the people, and for the people should not perish from the earth. Do we have a motion to receive that proclamation?
Move to receive. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item number 10 on our agenda is to receive for the record a research update from Standard & Poor's assigning a AA rating to Victoria County and take appropriate action. This is a big deal, especially at a time like this when a lot of local governments, municipalities, entities around the state and country are in financial duress. Here at Victoria County, we have received a rating from Standard & Poor's earlier this month that rated us AA and affirmed a prior AA rating, underscoring the strong financial condition that Victoria County is in. There's a few specific remarks in this document that I want to highlight. When S&P does a credit rating like this, they do extensive interviews with me, with the auditor's office, with others, looking into the financial performance of the county, the stability of the county, the leadership and management of the county, the activity of Commissioners Court, how we budget, how we plan, how we spend money, and that all plays a part in their assessment. And in this very strong AA credit rating, they made specific mention several times of the low tax rate, the limited tax rate here in Victoria County. They note the county's solid financial performance, our healthy reserve fund. They note specifically the court's conservative approach and conservative assumptions in budgeting and in spending. Also, the court's conservative approach to debt and how low our debt burden is compared to peers. They note specifically, again, solid financial performance, conservative budgeting and budget management, and a healthy reserve fund. And for that, I commend all the members of Commissioners Court up here. I know this was front and center in our last budget workshop where we prepared and finalized the 2026 budget. Those were things that we put a lot of focus on, long-term performance and healthy finances of the county. And this is something that we should all be proud of, a third-party stamp of approval about the county's strong financial performance and fiscal management. So I commend each of you up here for that. And everybody who played a part in this. Michelle, your crew, Chris, Madison, everybody who played a part in the financial management, not only this year, but in years past. So well done to y'all, and what we would need here is simply a motion to receive. That
Judge, may I say something on this very
Yes,
briefly?
Chris,
From
please.
working with Standard & Poor's in my former life before coming back to county service, this may seem sort of like insider baseball, but this is a big deal, especially for a county our size to have received a AA rating from them. And there's one little tidbit in the report that really jumped out to me when they wrote that financial management policies and practices include conservative budgeting, regular updates on budget to actual results for Commissioners Court, and formal investment, debt management, and reserve policies. It's very clear that Standard & Poor's really likes what we're doing here, the way we take care of our business. And while this may sort of seem like insider baseball, in my world, this is something to shout from the rooftops. This is excellent news.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chris, for that. And I may have failed to mention that for all practical purposes, this credit rating is the highest rating possible for a county of our size, with a tax base of our size. Because that was one of the questions I've asked over the years. And really the only thing that would hold us back from an even higher credit rating is just the size of the community, the tax base. We're not, we don't have a tax base like Dallas or Houston.
Right.
So this is as good as it can get, and thank you for pointing that out, Chris. This is a big deal and something that we ought to be proud of.
And the reason why we got such a good rate.
That is true. That led to the very favorable interest rate we got with our last CO. So thank you, Chris, and thank you all.
Move to receive. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item number 11 on the agenda is to receive for the record a lease agreement with Bloomington Stronger Together permitting the use of the Bloomington Little League fields located at 211 West Fifth Street, Bloomington, Texas, and take appropriate action. I know this is something that Commissioner Garcia had been spearheading, and attorneys did review this document. I signed it a few weeks back, well, a couple months back, and this is merely receiving for the record.
Move to receive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 12, receive for the record fully executed fiscal year 2026 Victim Coordinator and Liaison Grant Contract Number C-02349 for the Victoria County Sheriff's Office and take appropriate action.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Chief.
Morning.
This should be just a renewal from the previous years for that crime victim liaison position.
Okay. Simple enough. And that's an amount, it looks like $49,500.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Simple enough. Is there a motion to
Move.
receive that for the record?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Moving right along, item 13 is to consider approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Victoria County Public Health Department and the Parents as Teachers National Center Agreement 2625 and take appropriate action. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners.
Morning.
This is a reoccurring annual agreement we have with Parents as Teachers National Center for our Texas Home Visiting Program. These are the training implementation support is included with the contract that we have, and it's 100% grant funded.
Okay, for those listening online at home, David, can you just give a brief little snapshot of what this program is?
Sure. There's two parts of the program. Texas Home Visiting has the Parents as Teachers program and then Family Connects program. Parents as Teachers program, we have parent educators that go into homes and provide support to families and with young children, getting them ready for school, providing them with instruction on healthy learning environments and home environments for them. And then the Family Connects program is helping with infants and toddlers and young ones, really making that transition home after they have a newborn, making sure the home is safe and they have all the support they need in the home environment.
Very good. Thank you, David. Is there a motion to approve that MOU?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, David. All right. Item 14 is to receive for the record an inspection certificate for the Victoria County Regional Juvenile Justice Center located at 97 Foster Field Drive, Victoria County, Texas, issued by the Victoria County Fire Marshal's Office, and take appropriate action. The fire marshal is not here this morning, but we are,
Looks like they passed.
they did pass, and we have a copy of that certification right here, and we would merely need to receive that for the
Ready to
record.
receive. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 15, consider approval of the following residential indoor detention contracts for the Victoria County Regional Juvenile Justice Center and take appropriate action. A, Andrews County Residential and Detention. B, Reeves County Residential. And C, Calhoun County Residential and Detention.
Move to approve A through C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 16 is to consider approval of Resolution 2025-091 for a road donation from Robert Shaw for the installation of a driveway and pipe culvert to conduct drainage improvements in Victoria County's right-of-way at 434 Shar Road in Precinct 3 and take appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 17 is to consider approval of payment application number 16 to Forney Construction LLC in regard to the Citizens Medical Center ICU additions and renovation project and take appropriate action. We are nearing the end of that project, and as I understand it, should be having the final completion in January. This payment amount is for $1,058,040.83.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item number 18 is to discuss and consider adoption of the following policies and take appropriate action. A, personnel policy. B, disaster pay policy. And C, drug-free workplace policy. This is something that a committee, didn't I see Gianni walk in here a second ago? Okay. Yeah, she has been spearheading the effort to shore up these policies, update them to modern best practices. We have in front of us some drafts of what those look like at this point. I don't anticipate us wanting to or being able to approve them today, but I think this would be an opportunity to publicly discuss these drafts, which have been circulated to the department heads and elected officials throughout the county. Again, it's those three separate policies.
There she is.
And there she is right there. So Gianni, as I understand it, this is the most recent draft where we stand now. You've sent these out to everybody to solicit feedback, suggestions, concerns, and that's all thus far been crafted into what is in front of us.
That's correct, yes.
Which, as I stated a second ago, we won't be, I think, wanting to or prepared to approve that today, but this would be an opportunity for feedback. I know one question I had on this, addresses PTO, disaster pay, various other things, holidays, but it did not specifically speak to administrative leave. Was that by design, or, I know that's kind of been a gray area in the past, but it seems that that's still occurring a bit, I don't want to say haphazardly, but certainly inconsistently throughout the county. In times past, we've talked about ways to streamline that and to make sure it was a more formalized process, rather than the way it's being doled out now. Is that something that the committee looked at or spent any time on?
I don't think we did, Judge. Obviously, we kind of compared our current policy with tax recommended policy. And in tax recommended policy, administrative leave is not something that's in there. But if that's something the court wants to define, we can certainly look at it and put it in there. I do think our current policy has a small snippet for administrative leave. I can pull that.
I
and
thought
look
that
at
was in cases of inclement weather or something where we did a countywide closure or early closure. In those cases, then it would be fitting for administrative leave, but it's still occurring, like I say, inconsistently.
Yeah, it does get mentioned in essential employees part, under an example of B, II, lowercase.
Can you read that? Is that the weather, the inclement weather?
Yeah.
It just gives an example, right? And then at the very end, it does include 8 hours of admin leave, straight pay. It's just talking about if somebody had to come in during a storm.
Okay, yeah, and we did a good job, as I see it, addressing that.
Right,
Hurricanes, disasters, inclement weather.
ice, things like
But-
that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look and pull our current personnel policy and see if I can find it.
So I guess as we review this further, that is something I think we need to look at to get some definitive answers on that. Beyond that, was there any other feedback from up here or from anyone related to this? We'll certainly have the week or weeks ahead to continue reviewing this.
Thank you for putting this all together.
Just a joint effort. Lots of discussions, lots of, kind of good discussion, hearing both sides of scenarios, so a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Gianni,
Appreciate
for
the auditor's office,
spearheading that.
Office of Emergency Management, Health Department as well, so
All right.
it's good.
Okay, well, there's a printed draft of that, all three, here in the packet for further review. We will obviously, in the weeks ahead, want to be formally approving the final version of that, but we want to continue to give folks even more time to review it, so. So for now, I say we pass on this, and then it'll certainly be back on the agenda for an approval
Okay.
in the coming weeks. Anything else on that, Gianni?
No, I mean, I provided the kind of summary of the key changes that we had looked at, and then the kind of rationale based on the discussion that we had. The drug disaster pay policy, I believe we've been in draft concept for that for a little over a year at this point. And so we kind of tried to take historical processes and put it all together in a more defined process. The drug-free workplace policy, small changes to what we have in place. The biggest thing was, that came out of the committee was they wanted all employees to have to follow the same drug-free policy requirements. So we just clarified that that policy was not just for CDL holders, but applied to all employees. And so that was the largest thing on that one.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you again, Gianni. I know one of the many dozens of tasks that you took on after becoming the HR director was to modernize our policy, bring that into the current decade, and just follow best practices. And we are on the cusp of getting that done. So thank you for your work that went into that. All right, anything else on this? If not, we'll move along, and we'll pass on that item for now. Thanks, Gianni. Item 19 is to consider approval of personnel changes and take appropriate action. It looks like we've just got one in the packet on a Perez.
Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 20, receive for the record 2025 discretionary fund budget amendments and take appropriate action. And it looks like there is one of the Criminal District Attorney's Contraband Forfeiture Fund, a movement of $4,000 within that fund, and this is for our record only.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 21, consider approval of budget amendments and take appropriate action. There are a few of those in each of your agenda packets.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on these budget amendments. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Our next item is a closed session. I don't anticipate us taking any action when we emerge from closed session. But for now, at 10:33 a.m., we will go into closed session to discuss personnel in various departments. Appreciate you all being here this morning. Coming out of closed session at 10:48 a.m. Before we adjourn, there is one item of discussion back on item number 18, which we'll go to now, related to our personnel policies, I think specifically the disaster pay policy. There is some more discussion on that we need to have. Gianni, what is the deal there?
Yes, Judge, so part of the committee, part of the discussion that came out of that was some of the key designations, whereas like historically, we have excluded positions that fall under 207K. So those are shift workers that don't observe holidays or don't close during emergency operations that are required to stay open because just the nature of their work. So there's been some conversation as to should we include them? And then the other piece of that is we have historically converted exempt employees to hourly employees during events. What we found, just in comparison with some of our neighboring entities, is that's not done. So that is something where we're kind of set apart in.
Okay.
So two things there that we need your guys' input on how you would like to move forward with that.
So currently, the individuals who are on the, like, in the SO and juvenile are not under the disaster pay policy because why?
Historically, we have treated them as in they have to operate in general, and
So being there for a 12-hour shift is occurring
standard.
anyway? Okay, okay. And our neighbors, I mean, that's
They
not a
include
common,
them.
they do?
They do include them.
They do include them? Okay.
And we don't?
So the thing we don't is on the salaried, the exempt staff. Okay, so there's two questions there.
Yeah.
As it pertains to the law enforcement folks, Sheriff, what's your take on that?
If you were to include them, that'd obviously be a positive thing for the employees. That never have been. I know she brought it up, and I think it's a great idea.
What would be the impact of that, the dollar
I did a
impact?
quick analysis of our little weather that we had back in January of this year.
Okay.
And it would be anywhere from about $10,000 to $12,000 difference, because, you know, they weren't even paid straight time. It would just be the half
Right.
hour that we would be at.
$10,000 to $12,000 difference for what? A
For the
one-day
Ju-
event?
Yeah, for that 1 day's pay that we did, yes.
Okay, so this would have an impact of $10,000 to $12,000 per day.
Yes, because they're
Yeah.
getting that extra half hour. Instead of straight time, it would be, time and a half
Okay.
for that
Yeah.
time worked.
Okay, now
And
jog,
that's what our neighboring partners do.
okay, now on the disaster pay, there were a couple tiers of that. It was 1.5, but then there was also a 2 time.
And our neighboring partners only do time and a half. They do
Okay,
not do the double.
there wasn't any scenario where it was 2.5, was it?
There
Yes,
is.
There is, okay.
If you're responding to the event, that's a 2.5 hour, that's 2.5 times your rate of pay.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
And that was part of the early onset conversations. We have found that that does kind of set us apart, not in a bad way. I mean, if, we're compensating our people for the work that they're doing above and beyond what other entities are doing. But ultimately, a decision of the court. The standard seems to be time and a half for every hour worked.
Well, I think it would be a good thing to at least have parity with having everybody time and a half in that particular case.
Yeah. And what that would basically mean is they're not then getting admin leave, they're just getting time and a half if they work it. And those that don't work would get admin leave in the event of the closure.
Okay.
Okay, so the one decision is on whether to include folks in the SO and the Juvenile Detention Center, include them in the disaster pay plan. They're currently not. And then the other discussion is on exempt employees. Should exempt employees be also added to that? Is that the question?
Yes. that
Because in the
was part
same
of
way, those two entities are not, exempt employees are not part, should they be?
Yeah.
So in the draft we have right now, exempt employees are not included?
They are.
They are included.
They
So the
are- it
question
is-
would be, should they remain in there?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how we've done that in the past. I mean, back during Harvey and other incidents.
As long as it's within the pay policy itself, we know, and no, we're never going to make a decision based upon whether FEMA PA process will pay for it or not. However, in the past, they have paid for that. They have paid for the
Okay.
exempt employee as well as for the LE, but they will not pick up, correct me if I'm wrong, Becky, they will not pick up the additional extra half.
Correct, until you're actually in overtime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
Okay. I guess what I'm unclear on, would be instances in which there'd be 1.5, 2 times, and 2.5 times pay.
Yes. So employees that are non-essential, that observe the closures, that don't have to report to work at all, they would get regular time
Right.
based at admin leave. Employees that are working but not directly related to the incident, they get the admin leave plus additional straight time pay for every hour they work.
An example of who would that be?
Someone in the clerk's office, if they
Okay.
need to come and file an agenda or file property deeds or something like that, but the
Okay.
office is
All right.
closed. HR, for example.
Got you.
We've got change in status, new hires, hiring stuff that has to go on as of course of our regular business, not directly tied to responding to the event,
Okay.
those types of people.
And the next?
The next one is employees responding directly in response to the incident or event. Somebody working in EOC, finance, kind of managing purchases, road and bridge, responding to closures, deputies that are directly involved in responding to the storm. They would see as written the administrative leave plus time and a half for every hour worked,
Okay.
right off the bat.
that was the piece I was going to speak to. As far as what you're asking, Judge, that would be like our off-duty deputies that the sheriff is having to call in
Uh-huh.
to man barricades or whatever the case may be. They're already off, so they're not, they're not on shift already. So when they're coming in, they're getting the admin leave
Uh-huh.
plus the time and a half.
Okay.
All right.
That's
Yeah.
your 2.5 times.
Okay. And so.
So I guess in that sense, it's 1, 2, and 2.5, and there's not really a 1.5.
1, 2, and 2.5. Okay.
Is it the same as that with Road and Bridge? Or if it's a Saturday, do they
Yes,
get
Yeah.
admin and then a time and a half?
yes, as drafted currently, yes.
All right.
And that's where you get the 2.5 times.
And that's where this conversation really drove from, was that piece. How do you deal with somebody that is, you've called in, put them on, and it may be a holiday time as well.
Okay, and so in this scenario, when folks from the SO are included, if they are to be included, they would be under the 1.5 times on top of the, how would that work?
They would be 1.5, the 2.5, so they would get
Okay.
the admin leave plus 1.5.
So in a scenario where there's a hurricane, we do a countywide closure,
Okay.
those who are coming in, there's administrative leave across the board, but those who still are performing their normal job, they're at
Time and a half?
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
And then if their efforts are in direct response to the disaster or anticipated disaster, 2.5.
So those that are coming in and doing their day-to-day, not directly related to the storm, would amount to 2, because they get the admin leave for their regularly scheduled shift plus hour per hour of whatever they work.
Okay.
So if they'll, let's just say they're a 40-hour week employee, their regularly scheduled day is 8 hours, they would see 8 hours of admin leave. But let's say they only came in for 3 hours that day, then that day's total hours would be 11, straight time pay. Okay? If it's someone that we're calling in to man barricades, whether sheriff's office or road and bridge, then they would see the admin leave for their straight day, so either 12 hours or 10 hours,
Right.
depending on their regularly scheduled. Plus, let's say they work 4 hours, then they would see time and a half for the 4 hours, plus straight time pay for their regularly scheduled shift.
So they're getting paid, like for Road and Bridge case, they have to come in, they're getting paid 10 hours, and anything over 10 hours is going to be time and a half.
They're,
No, with
No.
that 10 hours, you're getting a
you're
time and a
getting,
half.
you're getting
That's where the
10
two and a
hours
half
straight
comes in.
time, plus every hour worked is time and a half.
That's where the 2.5 comes in.
That's where the 2.5 comes
Okay.
in.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're discussing keeping this?
I mean, that's the decision for you guys. That's how it's drafted. But the conversation kind of initiated, is that too generous? Are we being a little too generous? You know, some of our neighbors, they do admin leave just for those that don't work, that observe the closures. And then anybody that's coming in, they're paid time and a half for every hour worked. I've seen entities also pay the admin leave and then pay straight time up and until they get to their overtime. So, you know, you have double time
Interesting.
until you hit your overtime calculation. So
it's all
it's
over the
really
place.
just what you guys,
Yeah.
what direction you want to move it.
When you say our neighbors, we're talking about adjoining counties?
City,
I'm sorry?
City of Victoria. We pulled the city. We did compare.
How do they do it?
What,
They just add a half hour regardless of whether or not you're at your regular job duty or whether you're reporting to the
do you know what other counties do?
We did
Curious.
pull San Patricios counties. I don't recall off the top of my head, Commissioner, I'd have to pull it and see, but we did pull it in some of our initial discussions when we were looking at drafting it originally.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? Yeah, I'd have to go pull it.
I don't know, it's pretty generous.
Do what?
That's pretty generous.
It is, it is. It seems like I brought that up last time we talked about this.
I think
but
we've talked about this
was in the
before.
minority on that opinion.
I don't remember. I remember this being discussed before, because I know I did question why you would get admin leave if you were at work.
So, I mean, you can take that portion out. You can just say if they're working, they're getting time and a half for every hour worked. But
I guess the counter argument would be just a matter of fairness. If something comes
Right.
up, there's across the board administrative leave. Somebody's being paid for not working while someone's being paid for working.
I think that,
Which is the underlying reason why I brought up the administrative leave, because I know that I think some administrative leave was issued for Tejas Fest, which we've just stopped. I mean, that, we don't do that, but is that consistently applied? So
well, I
that's
think,
something
I
we
think a
need-
good example of this, we talked about it last year, or earlier this year. Example, we have a weather situation, we have a freeze, and people, we close the county down. But SO still has to go out and respond to stuff. Road and Bridge still, and I think we went and argued the fact that our guys, you know, should have got the pay because others, not that it's their fault, we're at home with the heater on, and our guys were out in 28-degree, 25-degree weather as well as the SO. And that's kind of where we felt like, but where we thought maybe before the admin thing wasn't good, that we felt like, yeah, but you're the one, you're out there in the danger, you're out there in the hazards. You know, that's kind of what the philosophy was on that when we fought for that pay. And I believe, if I'm understanding right, that's kind of fallen into this conversation, right? Yeah, and that's why I feel like it's fair. I felt like, we talked about it before, but I felt like it was, before I felt like, well, you're getting paid to come to work. But if you're coming to work, it's in a hazardous situation. Your family's at home. Your family might have went out of town because of the hurricane. It doesn't necessarily have to be an ice storm. It could be just a regular bad storm like what happened in Kerrville. You know, that you're there. You're there in the middle of it. And I think we are very generous about it, but, you know, we're Victoria County. So,
Correct me if I'm wrong, that also fell on a holiday, too.
and it fell on a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really unusual deal. You're right,
Yeah.
Shannon. Thank you for that, Commissioner. It fell on a holiday. You know, that was a very unique situation.
Maybe,
MLK?
maybe
It's in
we-
February, yeah.
Maybe we revise it or define it if it lands on a established holiday that this occurs.
But we do separate in the policy holiday from admin leave, and the way that it's currently written, I believe it states that instead of, if it falls on an observed holiday, then we just use the holiday pay and no admin leave is given, but everything else applies. So
Okay.
the
Makes
employee
sense.
would see the holiday for their
But what did-
regularly
that's not what we
scheduled,
did.
plus time and a half, yeah. The impact is the same,
yeah,
whether
the
they were getting
impact is the
admin
same.
or holiday pay.
Well, you're gonna get holiday pay for the same time you're gonna get admin pay.
Because
The
like
way
with
that
our
it's-
situation, it froze, and the guys, we had bridges, we had to go put salt out, which they'd done prior. You know, we knew the freeze was coming, but we still had bridges that we had to close.
Yeah.
We had stuff, and once again, it goes back to these guys, the SO, who always have to be out there.
Right.
You know, and it was on a holiday. I can't remember what we argued for.
So
Because the
you wanted them
courthouse,
to
the
get
courthouse
holiday
didn't
pay
close.
Plus time and a half.
But the courthouse didn't close on that day. I don't, well, it was a holiday.
A holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
see,
you
that was-
wanted your employees to get
that
the
was just-
holiday plus time
And
and
so
a half.
we wanted our guys to get holiday plus time and a half. is what we
Correct, and
wanted.
that's how it's written in here. Holiday plus time and a half.
That's what we asked for. That's what it was, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I guess
Okay.
the question is, do we want to leave it the way it is right
Yes,
now, or do we
I-
make a change?
I do. I personally do.
What's the consensus then?
I mean, I know we're not voting on the policy right
Yeah,
now, but if we're discussing it, I mean, I'm for it. So,
That's the way we've been running.
because once again, my example on that was, I'm certainly not discounting anybody that got to stay at home on that holiday, but they were off, and there were people out there, employees that were out in 20-degree weather working.
Yeah, well, no, on the concept of that, I agree 100%. There should be a difference between those who are
Right.
paid to not work and those who are responding to
Right.
the incident. I guess the question would be, should that be at end up being 2.5 times? I've never seen anything that high.
That day it would have been because it was a holiday, so you're talking about admin.
Yeah.
I know
Aside
it's
from the
getting a little-
one-off
we're-
scenario.
I'm kind of getting,
There are multiple
complex and
moving parts.
nuanced.
I think
There's lots of
I am
different
on
things
the
that can
cusp of knowing what is best, at least in my own head.
Yeah.
Are there any other relevant considerations that haven't been mentioned? What should we be considering here? When we first started this, I said the priorities were to, number one, compensate the people who are actually working when when there's an issue.
Sure.
That they're compensated more so than people at home
Right.
not working. And then secondly, structure it to where people who aren't involved in the response aren't getting the higher pay. I mean, there have been instances where we're in a disaster scenario and everybody is on call or available. For this to be meaningful, it needs to be correctly applied to those who are responding and not to those who aren't. So those were kind of my overarching priorities. And I think they can be both achieved, but there are multiple complexities here. What are we missing? Rick, is there any other,
No, 'cause obviously the thing we always look at is opportunity to where the PA program will fit it. When we know we have to have all.
Where the what?
policies,
I'm sorry,
FEMA
what'd
Public
you say?
Assistance- FEMA Public Assistance Program.
okay.
Okay.
To be able to
Alright.
fit that, and obviously that kicks in at, the issuance of overtime is when that, actually comes into full policy. And so yes, being fair and equitable to the employees is a lot of things we heard, and once again, this has been ongoing for a year, so every time we
Right.
sit back down, we draft some of the notes up that we heard from the court. But no, I don't think we've missed anything else that is in there, as long as we have documented everything, the policy is put into place, because what we cannot do is go back and retroly activate the policy for FEMA PA. We
Right.
cannot do it. And so we don't want to be doing that on the fly, or figure out, oh, there's a disaster coming up. The disaster started on Saturday, and we bring something to y'all Monday morning, that's going to get us in trouble. Not that we're ever doing business because we
But-
want to get paid for by FEMA, we want to make sure that everything's in the policy beforehand.
So, come on.
Chief?
That scheme, as far as policy, where it's holiday pay or admin leave, that's not gonna apply to FEMA public assistance, because that's not time worked.
It is not. It is
So
not.
that will not count.
Yeah.
Right, so that time frame, if we put that into the policy, isn't gonna count towards the overtime.
No.
It's true.
Only the hours worked counts towards.
Okay. No overtime.
Okay, so that's just another scenario evidently, because, I mean, what if there's not a emergency? I mean, like I said, what if we had a flood and people couldn't get to work, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so then what it comes down to is,
Yes.
if we're not going to get reimbursed by FEMA by doing this. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. So do we want to continue this?
I think that's something you have to keep in mind, is that
Right.
Let's
Right.
define, we're talking about continue this. We're talking
Right.
about admin leave plus overtime. Is that what you're,
Yeah.
that's what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, if we're only going to get paid for the hours worked, that's fine. I want to compensate people to go out there in harm's way, okay? But I just want to boil this down because we're kind of going in different directions here, and I think we're missing the big picture is what we're trying to solve. So I'm just trying to bring it all back, so.
We need to structure this to what Becky said, that we're not going to get reimbursed from FEMA.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we shouldn't be basing it on FEMA, right?
Which
Right.
then brings into account,
And that's
I'd be interested to see what another county does. I'm not really concerned what the city does.
yeah,
And that's
I
just
do
me
have-
personally.
I do have San Patricia's policy saved in our
okay.
working folder, so I can send that out to you guys.
All right.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
this,
This is good discussion.
And to dovetail quickly on one thing that Becky said, we can anticipate the number of holidays we have. We know what those are going to be. We cannot anticipate weather events. We cannot anticipate when we're going to need to apply admin leave and how long or how much we're going to need to apply it.
Right.
We know when those holidays will be.
Case in point.
Yeah.
okay,
I would like to hear back, after you go read through the policy from other counties and forward that information back to us.
Sure.
And let us, take that into consideration.
San
before we make a
Patricio's-
Decision on that.
any in particular you want to focus on? I know they're not all equally.
Right.
No,
I think
Some
San
of them aren't
Patricio
not
is
easily
pretty close to
accessible
us.
either, but I know
Yeah,
I did
whatever you
pull a
can-
few of them.
sure.
Yeah.
What
Get
about
a
like,
general broad idea.
I think in size in San Patricio, kind of close to
We
Victoria
need to look
County.
at other well-run counties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's not.
San Angelo or,
With
I mean,
double A rating.
who is more size, San Angelo or Abilene?
Well, we have that rating for a reason, so.
Adeline's pretty big.
What, Rockwall?
Rock, yeah.
Tom Green, Hunt.
All right, well,
I
we,
think is close.
I think we got some good info, though.
we will, I think we are on the cusp of making this decision. It is complex. Avery, yes, sir.
Just something to maybe add some clarification on the admin leave.
Mm.
If we consider a scenario where it's a disaster response on a Friday versus a Saturday, right? Your non-essential employees have a salary that compensates them for their duties that we've already crafted in the job description. If it's a Friday, and they are not offered the opportunity to work, it's paid out at normal straight pay one times, right?
Should be.
Versus if it's a Saturday, they will not be paid for that Saturday, but the employee who's an essential personnel responding, it's time and a half, right? So I think when you are looking at the admin versus holiday,
Yeah.
holiday is equitable. To Chris's point, we are able to, everybody's gonna get the holiday time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then the time and a half on top of that, it's really not 2.5 times, it's time and a half for the disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, we compensate essential employees because of the essential status, and they know that they're on call, regularly, during blue sky times. And so I think that's a portion of this that needs to be considered is the employee's status at the beginning, essential versus non-essential.
Makes sense. Okay. Although the distinction of essential, non-essential really doesn't play a part. It's who is needed to respond to the specific incident. Because a cyber attack is different than a hurricane, different than a freeze, different than an explosion, different than a fire. And depending on the instance, there may be non-essential who are responding to it and essential people who aren't, which is another complexity of the overall scheme of things. But that is a good point, Avery. Thank you. Okay, well, we will look into this further. I think we are close to being able to make a decision. Thank you all for the feedback and information on that. And I guess this discussion is to be continued. Anything else on that before we adjourn? Anything else? Okay. All right, well, we will stand adjourned and see everybody back here next week.